All right. Hey everyone. I'm here with Jason Blake. Hey Jason.
Hey,
How you doing?
doing pretty good. Doing pretty good
Good.
today. Yeah.
Now, thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Jason's with Richmond Realty in Staten Island, New York. Did I say it right?
You said it exactly how most people say it, especially after a drink or
Incorrectly.
two.
Yeah, right, exactly. So a lot of your business comes from probate, and I want to talk about that in your process because we get a lot of people that are thinking about starting it, but it's a very niche. So
Yeah.
give us some background of how you got started in it, and then we can talk about
Right.
what you do.
Yeah. So my dad and I own this company. We're a small independent, and my dad has been in the business for 22 years.
Hmm.
I joined him about 6 years ago, and for the longest time, he was kind of old school. He would call for sale by owners, expireds. He got a lot
Yeah,
of referrals, and that was enough for him. He did his thing. But
yeah,
when I joined him, he was like, "All right, I can't. That's not enough for
right.
to sustain the both of us anymore. So we need to branch out and do some new things." And I don't know, we stumbled across this all the leads
Hmm.
company that basically they do, these lists are public, right?
Yeah,
So anybody can go down to their county courthouse and they can, I don't know exactly how, because I don't do it for myself,
right,
but anybody can go down to the county courthouse and get the list of anyone who filed for probate in the past 30 days or
yeah,
however long out.
right.
What this company does for us, and it's not cheap, but it has proven to be very, very profitable for us, is they do the legwork and we just get a list every month. And there's a web-based CRM that I use to supplement some of the CRM that we use for everything else.
Hmm.
And we get a list in a like a CSV format. I scrub it down quite a bit from there to
Okay.
who I'm going to call, who we're going to mail to. But we were just looking for something different. Staten Island is a saturated market with real estate agents, like pretty much everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
And we wanted to do something different. So
But when you
initially,
scrub it, can I ask you a question?
yeah,
When
of
you're
course,
scrubbing it, I know when my partner Alan was doing it, the list is everyone. And so
yeah,
he was even getting people that didn't own houses. Is
right,
that what you're scrubbing for? Like that it's not a
yeah.
house? Okay.
So to go back to the beginning, we didn't know what we didn't know, right?
Right.
So we would get this list of 150 or 116 names, and what they give you is they give you the person who passed, a little bit of information about them, like where they lived,
Hmm.
when they passed, maybe the attorney info, sometimes
Hmm.
no, and then the person who they believe or is listed as the executor in public records, and you may
Okay.
get 3, 4, 5 different phone numbers for that person plus a
Okay.
mailing address. So at the beginning, we said, all right, just get to work. We
Yeah.
call them all, right? Call
Right.
every one of them because who knows what's going to come of it.
Right.
Before long, we saw pretty clearly that there were like three buckets
Okay.
or three buckets that basically that these people were falling into.
Okay.
The first one, and this is the low hanging fruit for us, and I would imagine for anybody who tries to get into this market, it's the executor does not live at the home of
Right.
the deceased and doesn't even live in the state or in the county.
That
So,
seems like that would be the best because
oh
they're the
man,
ones that need the
those are the
most help.
people. And again, at the beginning, we didn't have this team. We didn't have the confidence when we spoke to them or the team behind us
Hmm.
of clean out guys and estate sale companies and
Hmm.
handymen and all the lingo and the language that they are going through and
Right.
to know to help them. But we
Right.
got to that point
Yeah.
pretty quickly because every deal, just like any other real estate deal, every deal is different,
Right.
and we've learned so much on each one. But we've recognized that these people who don't live in Staten Island anymore, maybe they moved away long
Right.
ago, maybe they never lived here, they need the most help. They
Yeah.
have, they have, like you and I, we have lives.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, on top of the grief of losing a loved one,
Mhm.
now I got this thing I have to do.
Yeah.
That I
Yeah.
have to handle, and there could be other siblings involved or other family members, which gets complicated.
Yeah.
But now I have to sell this property, and I live 1,000 or 2,000 miles away. Where do I start? I don't. How do I even get? How do I get in? How do what do I do if I have nobody local?
And I
So we
imagine
started to,
that's like you just call them like right away.
yeah, and those are the ones. Like I have a list. I was just calling these people about an hour ago, and
Hmm.
that's who I'm calling now on my latest list,
Hmm.
because again, we don't know. It's a soft intro, really. It's not. I don't. Maybe it's cold. I don't know. I've stopped thinking of it like that when I
Yeah.
call. But we send those people. I give a list of them to my assistant right away.
Mhm.
Kind of scrub down just to those people, and she mails out our brochure.
Okay.
And then part of my script is asking them if they got the
So
brochure.
you're taking, well, let me back up real quick because I do want to
Sure.
find that out. But the other two buckets are, so it's people that
Okay,
are out of
right.
state.
So then that would be our A leads,
Okay.
our A bucket.
Yeah,
Our B bucket would be people who live locally but don't live in the address
that
listed
makes
as the
sense.
last address for the deceased.
Okay.
So, and the reason, and there is business there, and we have gotten business from those leads, but the likelihood is they know someone. They
Right.
have a real estate agent. They
Right.
know they're still here. So
Right.
again, this is a very like, who do you know and how do you
Yeah.
know them area. So it's harder. It's harder with
Mhm.
those. We're usually going to be in competition. And then I don't want to say bottom of the barrel, but the leads that we have had the least success with would be the executor. Their address is listed as the same address as the deceased, which
Oh,
usually
okay.
means it's a spouse, it's a surviving child, and they're still living in the house.
Okay.
And again, there is definitely some business in there. I'm sure over the years we've missed some of those,
Hmm.
but as a small company, we don't have a team calling these leads because this is a very touchy call to make, and you
Yeah.
really got to kind of know what you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
hard to. We've tried to pass these leads on to call centers,
No.
and it
Oh
just
my
doesn't
God.
work.
That would
It
be
doesn't
terrible.
work, and then we're cringing when we listen to the recordings, like, oh my God, why did they say that? It can't. We have to make them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the point we're at right now. So when it's just two of us, we have to try to be as efficient as we can, and those just don't warrant spending the time to dig into the tax
That makes
records
sense.
and try to comb through 4 or 5 phone numbers per lead. I don't have that much
Yeah,
time.
it's just about like focusing your time. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're calling the A leads, which makes total sense. You're sending a package before you call them.
Yes.
Okay.
We have we started out, it was very bare bones. We were just sending a brief letter, and on the backside of it had a couple of reviews, just
Okay.
random reviews from clients. And then we stepped our game up and we got like a nice shiny brochure, a trifold brochure that again just kind of talks a little bit about all the different things that we can offer and help them with. And when I call and I have my script right in front of me, I don't care whether they got my brochure or not. I don't
Right.
care if they remember it or not. I
Doesn't
say the
matter.
same thing no matter what.
Yeah.
You got my brochure? Great. That's why I'm calling. Oh, you didn't get it? Great. That's why I'm
I'm
calling.
calling.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But so, and what I find is, again, there's always a little bit of anxiety when I start to dial these people, because it's not even just like, for sale by owner is one thing. There's anxiety there too, right? But,
Yeah.
at least that person's selling their house, and, maybe they'll crush you and hang up, or, maybe they'll be nice.
Yeah.
These people, I have to look. I look at the date that the person passed away. If it's too recent, I get a little, sketchy on that, and I have to kind of use my judgment sometimes. And sometimes I walk into a battering ram, and but I've gotten to the point 5+ years of doing it that there have been times I've been pretty impressed with myself sometimes that I didn't fold under pressure, because once you get, it's hard, and you have to do it, right? You have to do it enough times where you're not an ambulance chaser,
Right.
and you're not just looking for their money, and you're really providing a service.
Yes.
And we have enough reviews and have enough glowing words from past clients that I've been able to say, whoa, let's pump the brakes. I got your information. It's public. Anyone can get it. That's how I'm calling you. We're just looking to see if you're interested in selling a property. No? Great. Sorry for bothering you. Move on to the next one.
No problem.
And I would say 9 times out of 10, even if they're not looking to do anything, it's a quick phone call. I made a couple. I spoke to a few executors already, and they're keeping it for somebody in the family. Somebody still lives there. And then it's just, okay.
It's fine. It's whatever. Okay. So you call them, let's say, okay, you get the appointment. That's easy, right? But I would imagine that these leads, or at least when we were doing them, it's just a much longer sales cycle.
Oh boy. Yes. That's putting it lightly. Yeah. Very long. So not to get too deep into the weeds, but yeah, we have one that we're working on right now, and it was a criminal case, a high profile criminal case.
Oh.
And it was pre-COVID, and I spoke to the executor maybe January or February of last year.
Yeah.
he just called me 3 weeks ago because the court finally gave him authority to go forward and try to secure a
That's
buyer. So we're
crazy.
a year and a half after the death of, it was his niece. I've been, just kind of, it's a little bit of, it's follow up. You got to have a good follow up system,
Yeah.
and you got to be a little lucky, and you got to be
Yeah.
kind of try to be there when they're ready. And it's hard to know because they don't know
Yeah.
when they're going to be ready. And a lot of times, especially in a post-COVID world, the court has moved so slowly here in
Yes.
New York and
Everywhere.
everywhere. And it's just been hard. These people are frustrated because they're like, my attorney's just telling me,
They
it's
can't do anything.
COVID. I don't
Yeah.
know, any day now. And then one day they just get like that, and they get the
Get ready.
authority, and then they're ready to go. But then you have to then you're starting. That's the starting point.
Right. So is your follow-up then, it sounds like it's really just calls and emails or whatever. Is that right? Or do you have
Yeah,
anything
yeah. So I
else? Okay.
try, when I identify somebody on the phone on that call who says, "Yeah, we are going to be selling, but we're
Mhm.
not. We're not ready yet. We're too early in the process. It has to be
Mhm.
cleaned out. The court hasn't given me authority, so on and so forth." I'll try to get an email. All the Leads provides us an email. They started doing that about a year and a half ago, but I
Okay.
found a lot of times it's not an accurate
Not
one.
right.
They just
Yeah.
they pull it. Yeah, it's a shot in the dark. So I'll try to get an email for them. I'll follow up right after that call, like when it's fresh, with
Yeah.
an email. I'll attach the brochure that I know they already got or they're about
Yeah.
to get in the
Good
snail
idea.
mail. And I'll, again, most of the time, do people respond to those? No, because I go to spam or they don't
Right.
see them, but makes me feel better. And I do get responses sometimes.
Yeah.
And then from there, I put it into my contact management system for, if they said to call them in 3 months, maybe I'll call them in 2, and
Yeah.
I'll just try to be there and follow up with
I think
them.
the rule of thumb is always cut it in half,
Put it in
pretty much
half.
in
Yeah.
half. Like whatever they
Yeah.
say, cut it in half. They say, call me
Yeah.
on, in a week,
Well,
you
yeah, if
call
they
them
say
in 3
yeah,
days.
and I try to do that too. And then sometimes when I get to that half, I'm like, it's been such a short period of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll wait a little bit
Right.
longer and
Yep.
just cross my fingers every day that it doesn't pop up in the MLS.
Exactly. So I mean, you do have to be an organized person and all this stuff, but if somebody wanted to take this on and start calling probate and use this as a resource for themselves, what would you say, like, who's it good for and who is it not good for? What do you caution them? Or
Well, so the first thing is, and as you know, a lot of realtors, most don't like getting on the phone. So if you have any kind of phone phobia, if you're not great on the
not for
phone,
you?
don't do this. Don't get into this market, because if it's one thing, again, to call an expired listing. That's somebody who had their house in the market recently, right? If for
Right.
sale by owner. So these are people who are kind of in the
Yeah.
market right now. But the executor, especially if it's somebody from out of state who they're not local, they don't know what's going on. Now they're thrust into this real estate thing,
It's a
and
lot.
so it's a touchy conversation, and you really need to practice at it. And there's masterminds, and there's calls that you can get on if you go with All the Leads. And I know there's other services too that offer this, but they
That's the one
offer.
we used too, though, was All the Leads. They
They're
seem
really
to be the
good.
popular one. Yeah.
Yeah, they offer some other services on top of like just the bare list of leads that that's really all we need. I don't need it. I don't need they do some more investigative things like digging in a little deeper, but I do that myself and I'm comfortable with doing it, so I don't need them to do it. But they'll mail for you too. They'll do
I
the
think we
mailing
had them
for you.
mailing for us.
Yeah, they'll mail for you on they'll do 3 different mailings at a certain point. We have our own brochures. We do them ourselves. It was cheaper to do it that way. They will actually design the brochures for you and customize them for very cheap, way cheaper than if you did them through like Vistaprint or anything like that.
Right.
So yeah, but who's it not for? It's not for anybody who's not great or scared of being on the phone. And if
Scared of being yelled at.
Yeah. And again, that does not happen very often, and I don't get blasted often, but I try, and I know we all do this when we get on the phone. I try when that happens to just move on quickly to the next one. Tell myself it wasn't me. It was about them. They're still, but again, people are grieving, and it's, you have to kind of have some empathy and really try to tell them, listen, this is all we're reaching out for. I don't know until I call you if I can help you. If I can't help you, if there's nothing to help you with, then that's fine. But I don't know until I call you. So that's why we call. But the other thing you really need to have is a good follow-up system, and you really need to stick to it. And again, there have been times where I've lost out on some because I didn't, that call came and I missed it, that follow up schedule, I missed it. And then it comes up in the MLS 2 months later. And I'm like, son of a, you know what, I missed out on that one, and I have no one to blame but myself. That's a bad feeling.
I hate that.
Oh man, it's the worst. Especially if I spoke to someone and I had a good
I know
conversation
you felt like good about it, and then it's like,
yeah,
oh, geez.
right, I'm feeling good, and then because then that's so much easier of a call the next time. Like when I call those people the second time, they already most of the time they'll remember that I called them,
right?
And they'll and I know that now. I know that's the right person. I know they're selling a property, and it's so much easier. I slide right back into the easy going part of the conversation. So you got to have a good follow-up system. If you don't have a good CRM or a system to follow up with these, because this is a monthly list, and every month, if you don't, you're going to have people that you're going to need to follow up with, and then it's going to start to overwhelm you.
Right.
And that's another reason why we try to stick to the low-hanging fruit, the ones we've converted the most of, because it gets overwhelming every month, a new list, and boom, boom, boom. Before you know it,
exactly.
Before you know it, you're not doing anything else. Right. So it's hard to stay up on it. So we try to do that.
Well, I think if people this video is really helpful because we are getting a ton of questions about like, should we start doing probate leads? And I agree with you. It is not for everyone. Yeah. Like you have got to know the process. You have to know.
And you really got to know what's going on in your county and in your state, because what I could talk, for hours about the process here in Richmond County and in New York, but it's not the same everywhere. I see on some Facebook groups that I'm in with other people from around the country talking about things I have no idea what they're referring to, and it's just not the same. So you really got to know how things work. But I think the easiest place to start is with the people who inherited a property and don't live near you, because they are the ones who are going to need somebody like you on the ground to help. And it might be other things. We've cut lawns for people that had violations on their properties that didn't live here and were older. We've packed up we turned it into a marketing video. My dad taking a video and me cutting the lawn behind him, saying, "Hey, we go above and beyond."
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I brought back cable equipment for a client last week.
That's nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, she lived in Rhode Island and she was going to come drive to Staten Island just to bring back her dad's cable equipment. I said, "That's crazy. Let me do it. It's by my office. Like it's not, and listen, it's a little self-serving. There's a sliver of it that's self-serving because it's going to curry some goodwill and good favor. And, if the listing expires, maybe they'll give me a little extra time on the back end because I did that for them. So, but again, it's just trying to make their lives a little easier in a challenging time for them.
Yeah, it's terrible. Cool. Well, I really appreciate you being on and explaining your process.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was nice talking.
If people do have a referral for you in Staten Island, because you also do regular real estate too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we get a lot of business like this, but it's not all we do. So yeah, we do regular residential, sales and buyers and sellers.
Perfect. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
My cell phone would be the best way. It's 917-682-5994. That's my cell. It's the best way to get me. And yeah, hopefully I don't decline the call when it comes from out of state, because I get a lot of those.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Jason. I really appreciate you being on.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate it too.